Today I have for you two very wonderful, interesting people, and I'm just going to get them to introduce themselves for you so you can hear straight from them. All right, guys.
All
Aloha.
right, hola. My name is Michael Cusabios. I am producer and director at Twiddle Productions, and we create animation based on classic Hawaiian stories, as well as games and multimedia. Um, and this is
Hi,
Beautiful.
aloha mai. O Keiki o Ewa Kaopua. My name is Keiki Kaopua. I am a Hawaiian culture specialist here for one of the schools, and I've been helping with the culture side of the animations.
Beautiful.
Keiki is also a producer and a writer for Twiddle Productions as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now, of course, because, it's about animation and culture, what are both your cultural backgrounds?
I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm of Mexican descent, born and raised in LA. Um, my family's from El Paso. I'm fourth generation Mexican Californian.
Beautiful.
And I am a little more than three-fourths Hawaiian, and what's left of that is about eight Chinese, and the rest is all a bunch of European, French, German, English. But I've been born and raised here, and so I culturally identify myself as a Hawaiian.
Wonderful. Now that could be a whole separate topic and of discussion right there. But now, of course, I got in touch with you guys to talk about the project. And now, excuse my pronunciation, is that Eho'omau? Or how do you
Yes,
pronounce? Yeah, is that right?
yes, it's a ho'oma. Yes, yes,
Wonderful.
that was a project we both did. Keiki on that project was the cultural advisor, um, and I was the creator, producer, and director of that project as well.
Wonderful. And now, what were you guys looking to achieve with that project? For those, of course, who don't know about it.
Well, actually, quite a lot.
Yeah, of course.
It's very interesting because there's multiple levels of it. The initial funding for the project, or I should say, the funding for the project came from the Native Hawaiian Education Act. So that required that we taught science to kids in the fourth grade level. So what we decided to do was show how culture and science link together, but on a deeper meaning, which is a more cultural area, is where we really hit the mark. And actually, Keiki can talk a little bit about that.
Yes, please.
Well, definitely, we saw this as an opportunity to tell our story. Uh, we haven't had this opportunity as Hawaiians for a while, and I need to acknowledge all of those who actually have made Hawaiian animations before. We're not the very first.
Okay.
Uh, that being said, uh, when we were invited to help with this project in Ho'omau, um, we saw this as a real opportunity to uh, have a say in how our legends are being told, and that has been one of the things that has really been missing. And as Hawaiians, we've really felt that where other people are telling our stories, and usually they have different motivations.
Mm.
So it was our opportunity to get involved and basically not feel exploited at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of
That-
the most important things that we discovered as we were doing this is that this was the first time a lot of these children were actually learning about stories from their past or their genealogy. So it was really important that the stories were portrayed properly, and also that the characters were relatable to the children as well.
Mm.
And I think that worked really, really well. So very, I won't say lucky. Everyone worked very hard with that in mind. So we were very determined to make that happen. And, I'm actually personally very proud that we did achieve that.
Oh, beautiful. Now, how many people were actually involved with the project?
Well, for that project, we had about 7 or 8 on staff.
Yep.
However, working with Keiki, who was from Kamehameha, and he was our cultural advisor. We also worked with various entities like Bishop Museum, Lion Arboretum, so many entities who actually participated in the science aspect of, not just science, but the science and cultural aspect of things. Samuel Gahn, from Hawaii Nature Conservancy.
Yep.
All of them participated at various points, and that's actually what made the project so rich and special, because so many people actually did do it with just because they saw the importance of it.
Yep. Now, why do you think it was important to include all these different entities? I know why, but for those listening.
Well, I think when you do these type of projects, you have to make sure that you do it right and you pay respect to all the people that you're involved and who are involved with it, and then the people that are going to be doing it. I come from an animation background. I've been in the industry for about 25 years from LA. Worked at Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers. And, you do all those things, and you're on schedule, time, money.
Yeah.
But on this, it's a different thing because you're not dealing for that mass market. You're doing it to get it right. So it's very important to do that. With every project we work on, including the current project we just finished, the Haloa film. So
yeah, I'll ask you about that soon enough. Now, why do you think animation, or why did you choose to use animation to tell these stories in particular?
Well, I'll take that here. So I came from LA, like I said earlier, to Hawaii to art direct a video game.
Yep.
And being here for my first time, I was just dropped off.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn more about where I was at, and I read, and because my background is animation, I was looking for things, and I didn't see anything. And the more I learned about the culture, and the more I realized there wasn't much out there, the more I realized, this is a very good opportunity to tell these stories to a new generation. So I pitched the project to the old CEO at Prowl, and he thought it was a great idea, and we were able to find a grant to support it.
Beautiful.
And Kamehameha joined in afterwards. They actually heard about the project and wanted to be part of it.
All right. Now, I guess the pitching process. Would you mind just talking a little bit about that, because that's also a very important part for people who are interested in these sort of projects, but usually get stuck there. They have the idea, but don't know how to sort of expand it out to anything more than just that.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because being in the industry, I have a lot of friends who do pitches, and I help them with pitches, and we set appointments to the studios, and it's this whole process. You got to get from one person to the next. For this project, it wasn't anything like that. I basically studied as much as I could on these stories. I designed some characters, some key poses, some key artwork, I should say, and then had a little bit of a rundown what I thought it should be, and I just sent an email saying, "Hey, I have an idea."
Nice.
And that was, so it was the simplest. No one's ever asked me that question. It was actually very simple,
Wonderful.
But the hard part after that is doing it. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
But
that's good to know.
It was meant to happen.
Yep, exactly. Thank you for that, because I know, especially in the animation industry or mainstream animation industry, that whole pitching process, it can be very lengthy, very laborious, and a large percentage of people just kind of don't get anywhere with the ideas. But I guess because this is so ingrained in culture, and it is very community based as well, and it's for future generations. I think that's why, our ancestors are probably looking over us and guiding us too. That's what I feel. Okay, so now, why do you think animation is so powerful when it comes to telling cultural stories, specifically? I know we kind of talked about that with the one about using animation to tell stories, but cultural stories in particular, because I know there are a lot of games coming out as well and interactive things, but the standalone animation. Why do you feel it is good for it? Either or.
Well, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's a lot of room. Really, there is not a lot, and for Hawaiians, especially now, we're trying to find things for their Hawaiian-speaking children to watch.
Yep.
And things that will not only use our culture as a backdrop, but actually have it in the forefront. And we take it very serious because we realize that animation appeals to the younger ones, and a lot of times this will be their first exposure to these characters, and we know with that it tends to be burned into their minds forever.
Yes.
And so we have to take it very seriously as to how we portray these people. To them.
A good example of, I think you might have told me this, an acquaintance of somebody's, I think it was you, told me that their daughter knows more Spanish by watching Dora the Explorer than they do Hawaiian.
Wow. Yeah.
So, right. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yep.
Friend of ours, common friend of ours.
Yeah. So it's important to that these films also highlight the Hawaiian language.
Yeah.
Which is, Hawaiian language-based materials are desperately needed for the immersion schools.
Yeah.
And for the younger kids who don't have much to teach them the language.
Now, do you think that there's more appeal with the 2D style than there is the 3D amongst kids? Or do you think that kids just, as long as it's a good story and it's entertaining?
I think if you've got a good story and it's solid, it doesn't make a difference what it's made in. From a production standpoint, it's a price issue, because 3D is more than 2D. We actually created our project in Flash, in Photoshop, After Effects, things like that.
Yep. Now, just going back to the I guess the young ones and elders. How has this affected the elders in the communities? Have they been embracing, or has it been challenging? What has their opinion been on this, or experiences?
Well, the Hawaiian community is very diverse. You can always expect a diverse response. That having been said, we do our best, really, and you release it and you just hold on tight. Yeah. But for the most part, the response has been very positive. The kupuna who we've invited to join us have seen the importance of it. And it doesn't take much to get buy-in for them to see, yes, our children need to have these things. So from the kupuna, for the most part, it's been positive. And then definitely for the children, I know we're very proud of what we do. If I wasn't, then I wouldn't be here, because I know my daughter has to hear this. Constantly, I go over this bites with Michael, and I listen to it at home, and we watch all the things, and my daughter ends up learning all the lines. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't something I was proud of, I probably wouldn't expose her to that.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, Michael.
To layer on top of that, the way we present all of our work is, because these stories are very important to people, and in many cases, families can follow their lineage, their genealogy to these characters. We have to be very respectful of it. And when we present them, we say, this isn't the version. This is a version we're presenting.
I was going to get to that, yep.
And what we do is we leave a lot of Easter eggs in it. We leave questions. We leave things open. Well, what's that? Well, what's this? It's like, well, you gotta go read. You gotta learn. You got to know that this is just our version, and there's multiple versions and multiple reasons for the versions,
Yes.
depending on who you are and where you are. You know?
Yep.
And hopefully there's a kupuna there watching with the child.
Yes.
Child can turn and ask, and the kupuna can go off into their version of what they heard.
The best thing is for some to say, "That's not how it is. That's not.
Yes.
That's dumb. This is what really happened."
Yep.
Because we want that conversation started. You know,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing, is to get those family conversations started.
You know, it's
Here's-
wonderful to hear that. Very wonderful to hear that.
Here's a funny story that sometimes someone told me real quick,
Yeah.
is that after Pele came out, they were in a park, you know, and he was at a picnic, and he heard two little girls like fighting in the background, and then he heard Pele, which is a line from one of the films. So they're
Yep.
playing Pele and Amaka fighting in the sandbox. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. You know, it's having effect. And I'm glad that you touched on that, because it's so interesting to see that what you guys are saying now, eliciting those responses from the communities, are things that I've experienced as well personally. And what I tell others who are trying to tell these stories through animation, and for the families especially, because there were fights sometimes amongst family members about who was telling the right story, the original story. And I said, I think it was Frank Miller too, who also said for the film 300, it's a historical evocation. I think that's what he used. It's about this is just one version of the story, and what's important is that you have that dialogue between the young ones and the elders, so that they can tell the one that's relevant to their family and their community. And I think that it needs to be stressed more too. Especially when these are shown, so that they can have those conversations. So wonderful to know that you guys are also experiencing that
Yes. Oh yes.
Okay, next question. What piece of advice do you have for folks who are looking to produce culture animations of their own?
Well, let's both answer that. I'll do one and then you. I would say just do it. I mean, it's obviously important. And if you have that important story to tell that you want to share, by all means, whether it's in 3D, CGI, stop motion, puppets, cutouts, whatever, do it. Because if you don't, you're going to look back and say, "Oh, I wish I could have done that then," and then the opportunity could be lost that could affect other people.
Yes.
For us, we want to inspire kids, so as they get older, they might want to do the same thing and carry on that tradition.
Yeah.
And what would you?
Well, for those out there, and there are many, I really don't believe that we're the first ones to want to do this, but I think with Michael coming, we had a really good opportunity.
Yep.
And we have a good opportunity. So if they want to, I would first say contact us. But other than that,
Nice.
Definitely. We were hoping that as we put these out, and there aren't many, so we feel we're kind of setting the bar here. We're hoping that somebody looks in that and says, whether it's in the future or right now, they look at it and say, we can do a better job than that.
Yeah.
We would invite them to do so.
Yeah.
So we feel
Wonderful.
part of it is, and we hope that they try to maintain the cultural responsibility that we feel when we make these films.
Yeah.
But, definitely, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree.